Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Supercross stands loud, proud, and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Hello, everyone. We've got the biggest show today. This is such an important episode. I can't wait to introduce you to our guest today. Is President Stephanie Urchick. She is the president of Rotary International, not president of her local Rotary Club. She's president of 1.5 million Rotarians around the world in 46,000 clubs or something. She's a big deal. We're thrilled to have her on the show, so you don't want to miss this episode. President Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Devin. I am honored to be part of Superpowers for Good so early in my presidential year.
Well, we're thrilled to have you, and congratulations on a wonderful start. I know you had a big kickoff event that sort of wrapped up the outgoing president's year and began yours informally in Singapore. Tell us a little bit about the experience in Singapore.
Well, the Singapore experience, that was our international convention. And Rotary does that once a year. We invite Rotarians from all over the world to come and celebrate the magic of Rotary that we've encountered during the year. So Singapore was no exception. We were able to celebrate all the accomplishments of all 1.4 million Rotarians in our more than 46,000 clubs. And so we had 4 days of exciting speakers and entertainment, and most importantly, we had a lot of fun.
I've been to a few. I didn't make it to Singapore. My last time was I was in Germany.
Okay.
No,
great.
I was in Houston. That was after. So I've been
Yes.
to Houston, Germany. Anyway, so great events. They're just spectacular events, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to Singapore this year. But you announced earlier, but reemphasized at that convention in Singapore, your theme for the year, and you hinted at this. It's the magic of Rotary. What does the magic of Rotary mean to you?
Well, the magic of Rotary comes from an experience I actually had several years ago. I was in the Dominican Republic. I was there to install water filters. So my job was to put the filters together, teach people how to use them, clean them, and then we would test the filter. So I was in a Haitian home. There were 2 women, a grandmother and a mother, and 3 little boys. And so I put the filter together, I showed them what to do with it, and then we did the test. We put dirty water in one end, and it came out clean. Then we put dirty water in the end, and it came out clean on the other side. And I'll never forget when I stopped doing the testing, one of the little boys ran up to me and he grabbed my sleeve and he said, lady, show me that magic again. And it dawned on me that the magic wasn't the water filter. The magic was what would happen to that family now that they had access to clean water. The boys could go back to school. The women didn't have to walk for miles to get clean water. That was the magic. And every single Rotarian or family of Rotary member, Rotaractor, Interactor, everybody who engages in something that creates lasting change has that same magic. We create magic because we provide opportunities for people to make their lives better.
There's so much to be proud of in Rotary, but one of the things that I'm most excited about is the genuine step forward Rotary made during President Jennifer Jones' tenure in advocating more authentically for diversity and inclusion, belonging.
Yes.
She was the first woman to serve as president of Rotary International. And I've heard you already speak about belonging and inclusion as a part of your mission in your tenure. Tell us a little bit about why that's important to you personally.
We want to create Rotary experiences where people feel that they fit in, that they belong. And that's what our diversity, equity, and inclusion leads us to. When we create environments that are diverse and inclusive and equitable, we really are moving to creating an environment, an atmosphere that does make people feel like this is where I belong. These are people that are just like me. So we want to move in that direction. I always ask Rotary Clubs to take a look at their communities. And if the club mirrors the community, then they have a handle on the future. And if it doesn't, then they have a great opportunity, because there are ways for them then to reach out. I always like to say, if people have the heart and the hands for service, and they have the right character that matches our core values, and there's a place for them in Rotary. So that's, to me, what belonging is all about, creating that right environment, that atmosphere, so people feel I fit here.
Yeah, it is really, I think, important. And I love some of your messaging around that. I heard you speak about a club, I think it was in Holyoke, Massachusetts. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but somewhere
You
in
are
New
correct.
England.
Mm-hmm.
And they had moved their meeting to a library where they were paying virtually nothing for the venue and made lunch optional. So it became essentially free to attend a meeting. And boy, it's hard. No one's excluded from a free meeting, are they?
That's correct. My own club did basically the same thing. We were meeting Wednesdays at noon. And, after a while, we kept saying, we're not growing. We're not growing. What's wrong? We're a fabulous club doing wonderful things. But we stopped and we realized, we're meeting at noon. So who are we missing? Well, we're missing teachers who are in school. We're missing medical professionals who have patients. We're missing some retailers who have customers. There was a whole group of people in our community who probably wanted to make the world a better place, yet we couldn't reach them because of our meeting time. So we decided to switch and become a morning club. So instead of noontime, we now meet at 7 a.m. Same people come, they come before work. And the very next week, we gained 2 members who said, we couldn't come before, we just couldn't get to your meetings. So it's worth it for clubs to investigate, the atmosphere and find out if there are other ways to maybe create the kind of setting that will attract people to your club.
Yeah. When I joined Rotary a dozen years ago, it was really looking promising that Rotary could, within just a few years, eradicate polio. That tremendous progress had been made. I think in 2013, there were fewer than 100 cases for the first time ever in the history of the planet. As long as there's documented history, there are documented cases of polio.
Correct.
But now we find ourselves a dozen years after I joined Rotary, we're still fighting that battle. Give us an update, and what are the prospects? Can we do this?
We absolutely can do this, Devin. As you said, when I joined Rotary years ago, there were thousands of cases of polio in more than 37 countries. And since we started our efforts with our partners in the mid-'80s, we've brought that down so far, 99.9%. Today, there are 12 cases of polio, wild polio, in the world. 6 in Afghanistan and 6 in Pakistan. But what's important about those 2 countries, knowing about that statistic, is that it's not the whole country. It's simply the border in the mountain range where the polio vaccine is hard to deliver. We have frontline workers. I had an opportunity to visit Pakistan in January. And I wanted to meet the frontline workers. These are women who are doing the dangerous and difficult work of delivering vaccine. They're climbing those hills, and they're facing gunfire from Taliban. They're doing the dangerous work of delivering vaccine. And I wanted to meet them to tell them that Rotarians around the world are proud of them and that we have their back. We're so proud of the work that they're doing. And I did get an opportunity to do that. But I also got to meet male frontline workers. In Pakistan, there are transit stops on the highways, and vehicles, especially buses, have to stop, and authorities go into the bus to check for contraband, illegal things. But there are babies on the buses. And so these male frontline workers take the carriers into the bus and actually immunize babies on the bus. I was so impressed with that. I asked one of the workers, well, how many of these are done? And he said, we do 3,000 a day. After I heard that, I left Pakistan knowing that it's not if we're going to eradicate polio, it's when. We can do this.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to visit Pakistan myself about, I guess it's already been 8 years. 8 years ago, I was there in 2016 and saw the things in operation. I'm glad to get that update, to hear that the progress continues to be made. The counts are lower. It is exciting. It is, as you point out, a scary spot on the planet. It is not without conflict or hazard. And so great to hear your update. Thank you so much for sharing.
And Devin, when this happens, Rotary, along with our partners, will be making history. So every person who is a Rotarian or a Rotaractor who has ever contributed to polio eradication to our efforts can say, I became a part of history because I helped to eliminate only the second disease on the planet. Of course, the first one being smallpox. So I'm really proud, as you are, that I'm a Rotarian because this is our #1 corporate project, and with our partners, we will do this. It's our gift to children of the world.
Yeah, so true, so true. You've mentioned the partners a few times. We should maybe call them out, but the Gates Foundation is a primary funder of this effort, matching Rotarian donations 2 to 1.
We have partners with UNICEF, with the Gates Foundation, with the World Health Organization, the Gavi Vaccine Alliance. There are major partners who bring their particular expertise to the table. So we're really proud of the fact that they have recognized Rotary's persistence. I mean, we've been doing polio eradication advocacy and fundraising since 1985. And so we really have, as you mentioned already, brought the numbers of polio cases down dramatically. And that's what attracted the partners who saw how effective we were, how important the work that we were doing was to bringing this disease to a close.
Folks, I'm here today with President Stephanie Urchick. She is the president of Rotary International, 1.4 million people around the planet, 46,000 Rotary Clubs. We've been talking about all the great things Rotary is doing and her tenure now beginning this month as president of that global organization. We're going to come back and talk to her about her superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this.
You can get in on the ground floor to help fix the climate crisis for as little as $100. Pause now to scan the QR code to get started or visit s4g.biz/raisegreen. You can be a green at Raise Green.
Want to learn from the world's great changemakers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com.
Hope to raise money from the impact crowd. Good investors are as interested in community, social or environmental impact as you. Connect with Funding Hope, an SEC-registered FINRA member crowdfunding portal to learn how to raise capital from the impact crowd. Scan the QR code now.
Welcome back. We're so fortunate today. We have with us Stephanie Urchick. She is the president of Rotary International, and Rotary does so many great things around the world, supporting community and economic development. I should point out, since a lot of our focus here on the show is on community and economic development, but we're going to shift gears now to talk to President Urchick about her superpower. So stick around. President Stephanie, you truly have accomplished so much in your career, not only with your work, but your volunteering through Rotary, now giving you a global podium from which to yield influence around the world. This is so exciting. What is your superpower?
Devin, my superpower is being able to motivate and mobilize people to create the magic of Rotary, meaning that I'm asking people to amplify their efforts and to look at how they can create change in the world. It's that simple.
That is a powerful superpower. As you think about how you motivate and inspire people to take action, how did you learn that? Where did that come from?
Well, I think a lot of getting people mobilized and helping them become motivated to change the world is through storytelling. I've had so many opportunities as a Rotarian. I've been in Rotary for 33 years. I've had a lot of opportunities to be on the front line. I've, been in a Rotary Club. I am in a Rotary Club, and that's where the magic happens. It doesn't happen where I sit in my office in Evanston, Illinois. It's really at the Rotary Clubs. All 46,000 of them around the world are doing the same thing. They're looking at their community. They're looking at the world, and they're saying, what can we make better? And as you mentioned, Rotary does this through the lens of our 7 areas of focus. And, they span environment, community development, health and wellness, water and sanitation, all basic education, almost every way that a community or a person or a family can be improved, have a better life, is a way that a Rotary Club can look at that situation and say, yes, we can do something to help. So that's been what's so exciting to me, is to share my stories and to help people understand the power of our organization. It really is a way for us to give back to the world. And something special happens when we do that. I call it psychic income. We do what we do, obviously, because it changes people's lives, but it also changes our own. And I say that we get psychic income. That's our salary in Rotary.
Sure, that makes perfect sense. I wonder if you can think of a specific time when you remember using that superpower to accomplish something you're proud of. Maybe you can think of a specific project that you led where you leaned into this need to motivate a group of people to take action.
Oh, Devin, there are hundreds of them. When we talk about the magic of Rotary, depending on what we're attempting to do, there are different verbs that we can put in front of that. We can talk about growing the Rotary magic if we want to invite people into our organization. And, I have literally hundreds of stories about how I've shared what we are, who we are, what we do, and have enticed people to take a look at that. I've talked to people about our foundation, which is the arm of Rotary, and we want to advance the magic of Rotary when we promote Rotary's foundation and generate support. So there are different ways that we look at. So I'll give you an example of the first one. Recently, I was on a plane, and I was flying from Milan, Italy, to Delhi, India. And a young man came and sat down next to me. Of course, he introduced himself, I introduced myself, and he told me that he was 31, he was the CEO, and we chatted for a bit, and I told him I was president-elect at that time of Rotary. And he said, "Oh, Rotary, I know what that is. That's that organization for old people." No, no, no. It's an organization for you, and let me tell you why. And I talked about the power we have in terms of professional development and the people that you can meet in a Rotary Club, because we come from all different kinds of professions. And I said, you're a young CEO. There's so much mentoring that you could find in a Rotary Club. Well, before the flight was over, I had his card. He had mine. And when I deplaned in India, I gave his card to the local Rotary incoming governor. And that young man is today in a Rotary Club. And that happened in April. And in terms of
That's
helping a
great.
club, yeah, and in terms of helping a club, it's the same thing. Telling stories about the need that's out there, and then just asking clubs to open their eyes. There's no shortage of things that we can do and we can help.
There are people who are your followers and they are eager to learn from you. How would you coach people, your Rotarians around the world and others who look up to you? How would you coach people to motivate people to take action?
Well, I think the most important part of that is helping people understand that we have to show others the value. What's in it for them? Why is it important to be someone who cares about providing service? It's really important. And when we tell our Rotary story, I love speaking to non-Rotarians, by the way, because there's a misperception. Rotarians think that everybody knows about Rotary, and they don't, or they know very little about Rotary. So what I always love to do when I speak to non-Rotarians is to talk about how we've changed. Of course, we brought in women in the late 80s. Our council that creates our policies in 2016 created new meeting models so that we have e-clubs now and different models that, cause-based clubs, because, the world changed. And Rotary finally realized that, what? We had the same meeting model for over 100 years. Clubs around the world did the same thing. They met 4 times a month. They took attendance. They rang bells. They did all sorts of, and there's nothing wrong with that. Traditional clubs continue to do that. But in today's society, there are people who want to do things differently. Especially young professionals and, people who are early in their career. They may not be interested in that kind of environment. I talked earlier about being able to find a group with whom you feel connection. So that's why we have different models. So I tell people it's important for us to share that Rotary story, because that helps people listen differently, and then they can get motivated by saying, that's something I've always wanted to do. I do want to change my community. I do want to change the world. Maybe this is an organization. This is a way for me to do that.
I think this is just great, great counsel. I'm so grateful. President Stephanie, as we wrap up this conversation, I wonder if you would take a minute and tell people how they can learn more about Rotary and how they can connect with you personally. I know there are a lot of demands on your time, and so you may let us know if there's a protocol, but I think there are a lot of people who will want to be in touch, and you can guide them.
Yes. I think the easiest way for people to learn more about connecting with the website, which is very simple, it's www.rotary.org. On that website, you can find information about our organization. You can also find a section that can connect you with Rotary Clubs. You can say, I'm interested in joining, and that information will be shared with Rotary Clubs in your area. So I think that's probably the easiest way. My personal email for Rotary is simply my name, stephanie.urchick@rotary.org. But having said that, I need to tell you that as president of Rotary, I travel quite a bit. And I'm rarely in my office, and I am sometimes in places where there is no internet connection. So typically it's my assistant here at Rotary who will take a look at the email. So if there is a question or a request for something, she would most likely be the one to handle it. There's
Fantastic.
also
Well,
the
go
opportunity,
ahead.
if you know where a Rotary Club is in your community, I would suggest that you just reach out and say, hey, I'd love to come to a social sometime or come to one of your projects and maybe help. That's the best way to learn about Rotary.
Fantastic. Well, President Urchick, President Stephanie, we're thrilled to have had you. Thank you for making the time for us. We want to wish you every success in your year as Rotary International President.
Devin, it's our year. It's our year, and thank you very much.
All righty. Now, let's do some good.